be a low-cost stage enhancement. If you only get a couple million or whatever, that may be one way to stage it. What we'd like to do, and I think you may have seen an email, I'm not sure, I sent it to Trevor, that we have some ideas how to get the cost down quite a bit, and yet still provide a freeway type concepts at not only 15th and 32nd, but also an access to 27th, because we know that's important for your economic development, important for jobs.
Yeah.
So we have some concepts in our heads, but there's a lot of issues and a lot of complicated issues that we need to go through with staff on the board and in both cities, and that's going to take some time and money to do. Right now we just don't have the time, we don't have the money, but we're willing to do that whenever. If you guys would get a small little earmark or something, you know, we'd be glad to sit down with you and go through that process, kind of like we did here, collaboratively, easy for you to say, with your staffs coming up with a plan that works for everybody. It just takes, again, quite a bit of time.
That's why I'm wondering if over a 2-year project, if your bids do come in significantly lower, or some period, I know ours last week came in nicely lower, if there isn't some way to just kind of close off a little bit more of that safety factor. I know years ago I wore a badge and literally picked up body parts out there, and let alone the devastation of the families, but for our crews that are going out that have to come into that.
This is, you know, that's part of our long-term plan to get medium barrier out there. It's, you know, I'll give you a brief overview of where the state budget is. General fund is one thing, you probably see that often, and just like your funds are. On the transportation fund, it's a little bit different. It's gas tax, it's identified for specific projects. Obviously, we added a corridor that Senator Zarelli and others helped to get funds for this one. In 2006 and 7, costs went up, just about like the costs have gone down. There's not enough money projected to be in our entire budget to finish building all the projects, including the big projects up north. And the heads of the transportation committees, Senate and House in Olympia, know that. There's not enough to go around, even with the great bids. We need to get great bids for the next 8 years, not just the next year and a half. If that happened, then we have enough money. That's what they're looking at, and that's the challenge you're going to have with your legislators trying to figure that issue out.
So what you're saying is, even if you come in under bid, you have a lot of extra money that could go towards the project. They may suck it up and take it somewhere else.
Well, the point is, no, that's kind of true. But the other hand was, this project only had $40 million original budget. Legislature increased it to 57 because of cost escalation in 2005 and 6. Across the country, across the world, we had 30% increase in cost of construction, as well as in Clark County, we had a 29.6% average residential increase in cost for values. Because of that, the legislature agreed to up the budget to 57 million. So now it needs to get down below 40 before you're awash. They did that across the state, and they upped it without increasing gas tax. And so there really isn't money there, hoping that something would happen like just happened. That we went into recession, the prices dropped. So now they have a better handle on it, but we're still not back to where we were. And projects were already bid and built, like we did at 502 interchange, and we're doing right now up and down I-5, are being built based upon that higher dollar amount that was bid 2 years ago. Now we're starting to get some savings, but that money was already spent that we didn't have. So now we need to go the other way before they are ready to, you know, open up their checkbooks and give you more money. And that's just where it is.
Hey Bart, to kick off, I mean, you're talking about the ideas that you guys have on 15th, 27th, 32nd. Just to kick off some preliminary engineering, what would you be looking at cost if we were to
go? We talked about this morning. Yeah. To come up with a plan to say to the folks that are going to give us the money to build a project, whether it's at state level or federal level, it's somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 to go through. It's probably a year-long process, lots of iterations. At 15th, the dike. How are you going to have a crossroad, a bridge? Is 15th Street going to go under SR 14 and open it up and have some floodgates? It's going to go up and over the top, so now it's going to be, you know, way up there. Is 14 going to come down? And, you know, how are you going to put interchange there? How are you going to put ramps to the east or to the when you have the pet crossing right there? We can't impact that. there's just a lot. Then we have to access the 27th, and then we have to figure out how to build an interchange at 32nd, and a bunch of other issues in between. It's gonna be challenging, and we need to go through this to do it right. We need to go through the same iterative process we went through before with a whole bunch of folks, come up with concepts, share them, vet some different ideas here and there, go back, do some homework, come back again. And I wish I could say it was less than that, but it's quite a bit more. That's really scoping of something that's, in the vicinity of a $100 million project. I'm hoping it's going to be less than that. I'm hoping it's quite a bit less. But it's going to be more than a $50 million project to do that segment. So $300,000 to $500,000 for doing the scoping is probably a reasonable amount to give us enough confidence that you can go to the state beds for it.
Have you looked at what the cost would be strictly to do something in 27?
Yeah, but we are not going to do anything at 27. We don't want to do anything without knowing what the long-term plan is. I don't want to, like, we just did it, and I think we regret it now, allowing you guys to go forward. You have a great project, undercrossing's great, but we don't know what we're doing at 15th. We don't know what we're doing at the cars. Now we have a ped path that is a significant restriction, just like we have down at on 14 in Vancouver. We have the new land bridge there, and yet we're trying to build a new freeway project, and it's a major constriction that's going to cost probably more money, several times more money to get around and avoid than what it costs to begin with. So we need to analyze that, figure it out before we go forward and do some temporary fix. We need to understand the long-term plan before we invest any more money.
Who's long-term plan?
Our long-term plan. Again, we sit down with both cities, the port, and our staff to come up with a long-term plan. So, as we said, together we're going to come up with that long-term plan.
Mark?
Yeah, it's an interesting situation, and when you say it's going to cost us $300,000 to $500,000 to come up with this plan, and that would again take care of 15,
And
37, and 32nd. And then once we spend that $300,000 to $500,000, it's going to take us
How
half
long?
a lifetime in Olympia to get the money.
However long it's going to take, yeah, your guess is better than mine.
Other questions?
I think we need to be looking at our budget next year, Sean.
Pardon?
So I think we need to be looking at our budgets.
Yeah.
I had a simple question, you probably answered it 1,000 times. I look at these 4 roundabouts. Could I trade those for 2 lanes on the bridge?
They don't amount to the 20 million.
Yeah.
What do they cost?
Oh, maybe $1 million apiece-ish. The major expense for this project are the structures and the 2 miles of wall, the grade separation. The earthwork and the amount of paving that's into the roundabouts themselves are really not a real significant portion of the budget. It's the grade separation and the structures that are the significant portion of the construction funds for this project. Because all those roundabouts are pretty much at grade. There's not a lot of earthwork at any of those roundabouts. So it's a little bit of paving and illumination and channelization, but that's real minor compared to the cost of raising 14 and building the structures to accommodate that movement.
Without the roundabouts, we'll end up doing like we have at interstates. We'll have 3 or 4 lanes coming down, 2 turning left, 1 going through and 1 going right. It takes about the same amount of pavement. A little bit more efficient getting the folks through and